We don't really need to introduce. Well, sorta, as people come in. Oh my goodness! I just put a message. Did you see how it populates with all of them? One, two,
Yeah.
three.
Oh yeah, yeah, it goes on everywhere. Yeah, that's the fun part, I assume.
There's no way they have to add that functionality where you can select where. Oh, you can. Wow. Did you see?
Yeah, you
There's like
just yeah,
Yeah,
you
there is an
there's an
all
all.
versus to the other one. Yeah.
I did not know that. Wow, that's cool. All right, let's we got 6 people in here already. Cool, cool, cool.
Very
Live
soon.
from 2 out of 3 of us live from Manhattan.
Yeah, nice, nice, nice. Finally, live from NYC.
Crazy. It's surreal, I guess. It sucks
Mhm.
that it was raining today.
Yeah, like I think that my day my when I moved to New York, it was also raining, and I moved like 9:30 p.m. because there was crazy amount of traffic going from Philadelphia. So
Did you have movers?
nope, I had me and these two guys.
Oh my goodness.
And I had a couple of friends that were helping, but
Did you have a
that
lot of
was about
stuff?
it. We had a whole full we had a full truck worth of stuff.
How big of a truck
Like
did you get? Like a
U-Haul,
10 feet?
large
Like,
U-Haul.
okay.
Yeah,
Like
like
a
a 10
18
feet U-Haul, I
inch.
think.
Yeah.
No, no,
Oh, the
18
18
inch.
18
That 10,
feet,
I
whatever.
think a
18
10.
inch.
Yeah,
My
damn.
bad. My bad.
An 18 inch. You're going with the toy truck.
Yeah. Imagine. Just imagine.
You got 18 foot?
No, no, I didn't. No, Jesus, I
Like
don't
a
get a
10. Probably got a
castle.
10.
Yeah, yeah, I
10.
got a
Okay.
10. Yeah, I got the smallest of the actual trucks one, not the van from U-Haul.
Yeah, the
I
box
got
trucks.
the, yeah. So yeah, that was nice. But like, well, yeah, for a little bit of context, actually, to everyone that is actually started watching already, we decided as a collective Cloud Code Life gang that we wanted to mix things up and actually felt that a live version of the podcast was a more fitting methodology for like running this podcast, because I feel like a lot of the time questions come like it's easier to address certain questions, certain topics when people that are in the middle of the topic can ask their question, and we can try to like provide some degree of help with that. But in general, just the fact that interacting with people and with listeners and with watchers, with any way of you consume your podcast, I feel like we felt is a more engaging and more easy and more direct way to help folks, and also for us it's a little bit more relaxed. Like there is a lot of work in doing a podcast. So let's
Oh
start
gosh,
with
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
There
But
is especially
it's more
video
casual,
related. Yeah.
it's like more of a hangout. It's like ideally it'd become sort of a space where, you can, if you want to just hang out with us every week or so around the same time, same day, we can, come bring questions, we can address them live, like you mentioned. And that way it doesn't feel like a chore. 'Cause, like, that's the thing that like we were all talking about. It's like we do this cloud stuff for work, and then do we really want to like
Mm.
log off our work computers, laptops, whatever, and then
Get done
do
with
the
it.
same exact thing, like,
Yeah.
so we're trying to like have, a good balance there. So here we are. Boris's dynamic trio. Yes, that's actually our nickname, right?
Mm-mm. No, that's official. We have to make a branded hat and such.
Dynamic trio. So yeah. I was gonna say something, goodness. But what's up, guys? How's everyone doing? What's been your week like? I did not. I thought it was Tuesday. Can you believe that?
My
Gosh.
Tuesday has been spent in Rhode Island, and I went because my wife has completely random, uh, like she doesn't have PTO because she works in
Hmm.
the hospital, and so she has a predetermined vacation for the next year. So we basically just decided out of random to go to Rhode Island in one of their weeks of like time off. So yeah, went to Newport. Newport is very nice, and I ate a crap ton of lobster rolls.
Wow.
Nice.
Richard
me-
could use some.
Yeah.
I feel
For
you.
context, if you need some context why I'm tired, I had a volleyball game. Just like I arrived to my desk 5 minutes before we started this. So I'm still like my legs are still covered in mud.
Oh my gosh, that's
Damn,
dedication.
you went, yeah, they went
That
straight
is
from-
dedication, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you could like my t-shirt is literally like it's sweating. It's dripped in sweat.
That's
So
commitment
that's
right
why
there.
I'm
Commitment to the show.
tired. Yeah.
I think
You-
those comments are funny because I mean, Alf and I know you're just like the chillest dude ever, no matter what. Like you were saying the other day, like at the gas station, you literally be threatened and you're like, all right. So you're like chillest dude, but it's funny because other people don't have that insight. So they're like,
Mhm.
does this guy is like being held hostage to like be here or something like that? That's why
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
But Boris, yeah, feel free to DM me. I can send you my address and send some free food with Uber. I would love some burger. Yeah. But yeah. Anyways, my week. So it was the end of the month, so a lot of billing stuff at work, and some after hours work went into that, budgeting and all that stuff. Also, unfortunately, teammates were on vacation, so the lone wolf. But other than that, this weekend I went to buy a pre-built. Just
Oh, that's right.
catching up on the conversation we had in the last live stream about graphics card and our systems and stuff. And I went to buy a pre-built, and I took like my younger sibling is here, so I took him along. And we were looking, and the prices were crazy because of the market right now. But then, as I went towards the parts section, I saw like they had 6 GPUs sitting there on the shelf. I'm like, are you guys selling these? Because in the past they were like a month ago, but they were part of a bundle. So you need to buy a CPU, RAM, storage, and then only then you would get a GPU, so that people who are trying to build like systems up rather than upgrading, they give them preference. But yeah, they said, yeah, you can buy a GPU by itself. I'm like, awesome. So they had a 3060 and a 3060 Ti for NVIDIA, but then in the end I went with like
How much were they? The
the
3060?
3060s were expensive. So the simple one was $750 Canadian plus taxes. And then the Ti version was more than $1,000. I don't remember correctly. I think it was 1,100.
And I think the MSRP for those is like 700 or less.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So I was just lucky to find them, because for the pre-built, I was gonna pay around two grand just to get a 3060. And with pre-builts, you have these crazy configurations. I don't know what companies think what they're doing. So they have like single channel RAMs, and then they have an i5 9th or 10th generation, not the great, like the latest one, and then they would put a 3060 on it, and they ask for like 2 grand. So yeah, so I ended up spending 1,200 with a new motherboard, a new CPU, and then a new GPU, whereas I was going to pay 2 grand. So save like $800, but my machine is like, it's rocket. Today I posted a screenshot of like a benchmark.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Killer.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, that was the exciting stuff. The boring stuff I already went through, billing stuff. But yeah, other than that, pretty excited. GPS is now in NYC, so you can see cool Daft Punk poster.
Yeah.
And
Michael Scott. Those are 2 pieces from an artist called Poe the Pigeon. She does these like she takes like her favorite sitcoms and creates like, just doodles around, like she puts like a lot of episodes and different scenes from it in one. So one's from Parks and Rec, and then one's from The Office. I like The Office a lot. It's like the only TV that I watch. Daft Punk, my favorite all-time, I guess, duo group. I love their album Alive 2007. I think I listen to that at least once a week. It's so good. I have some more art over there, but I'm not gonna show you because it's
We
a
need
work
a
in
tour.
progress.
We need a tour.
Yeah, eventually I'll do. Definitely gonna do like a MTV Crib style
Nice,
video for
nice.
my YouTube. But yeah, I moved today. Finished moving in today. Of course, it was raining. Movers were late. All that kind of good stuff. But finished moving today. I'm so glad because it's like for the past 2 weeks, it's been just so, you know how it is. It's so chaotic. Like making sure you have everything,
For sure.
packing everything. Oh, what do you need to buy? And no matter what, now that I'm like unpacking everything, I've realized that I just forgot so many things that I need. So like tomorrow I have to go out to the grocery store and then the pharmacy and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just glad it's over, so I can just have a restful night and hopefully start building a routine and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm very excited. Alf lives like, I don't know, what are you, like a 20-minute walk or something?
I am probably, I would say it's more of an hour walk actually.
Really?
Yeah, because
you're on
like
80th.
I'm on 90th, like all the way up, and
Yeah,
I'm on
yeah,
the east
yeah.
side. You're like at the other side.
Okay, so you're like a 20-minute bike ride. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
Nice.
bike ride totally. Like I have been actually pretty like there is the queue. If you manage to get to the queue, which is everywhere basically, you get to my like apartment basically. You drop off in 4 blocks from my apartment. So, but the thing about New York, if anything, is that there is so much routine that you can build, like so many routines, because everything is so close and so accessible wherever you are.
Yeah.
Like I'm so excited for, because me and GPS sign up for a soccer league recently.
Starts
So
in 2 weeks, right?
it starts
or like
in 2 weeks.
or like 10 days,
So,
something like that.
yeah, like in on 10 days, like on the 12th next Sunday. It's a Sunday
Nice.
league.
Get some
and,
TikToks out of that.
it's time to I haven't been playing soccer in so long, and now it's finally time. We have to train as well because I am kind of out of shape. Not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
that COVID shape.
Ominous even before COVID. So it's okay. That's-
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's our week.
I do see a new hat from GPS.
I got 2 new hats. I got this one and then I got a little penguin one,
Nice.
but it's like somewhere
Is
over
the
there.
penguin one representing Linux?
Yeah, because I got it when didn't Linux turn like 30 or something like that a couple days ago. So yeah, I got it in honor of that. It doesn't necessarily look like Tux, but you know, we'll just say it is because it's like more like an emoji version. Yeah, I got these from there's this brand called Dad Brand Apparel, and it's all like dad hats. They literally have a dad hat with a dad hat on this thing. It's like so meta, but
Gotta check it out.
yeah.
that is risky.
Here's a comment about like the days all become one working remote. Well, that's why I'm like so keen to build a routine here that doesn't have me be in my apartment the entire time, which is also why I wanted to move as soon as I could, because I can still work out of the office, the Times Square office, which is a couple of blocks from here. So my goal is to eventually spend a couple of days there and kind of have like, I guess, quote unquote normal, like not necessarily normal 9 to 5, but like I'll spend the day there, work there, get the majority of my work done, then come back and establish a little bit more of a work-life balance versus just all the time at this desk here. And then build some routines around that too. Like maybe we'll like practice regularly with Alf for footy and just that kind of stuff, right? So
Nice.
yeah.
One thing about remote work, and in this situation is like I chose it because my company is based in Philadelphia, but I am in New York, so I am 100% remote forever. And one thing I am realizing is that there are a lot of perks of remote. For example, like I wouldn't have been able to to have a dog like if I wasn't remote, because especially I got a puppy, like I got an 8 weeks old puppy, and it's like such an important time of their life to be spending with like parents and such that is like impossible if you are not home 24/7 basically. And so that's a big part of like the benefits, but definitely I'm starting to see that given that like I work in my laptop in my living room the day, and then I come here and do cloud
Everything
stuff
else.
or like everything else in my office. So there is no really the separation where I can like cut out and then like do something unless I actually have a routine, as in okay, I can go out and like do train and or I can go out and do something consistent. Like now I'm starting doing some board game nights with my friends every
Nice.
so often. I started like collection. Look, I don't want to go into the board games because I'm spending way too much money. But oh well. And but that's something like it's not on a screen. Like that's my important thing. Like the important part is like living remotely makes it so that your screens are so omnipresent in your life, and it's starting to wear off. Like it's starting to become a little bit annoying at this point.
Yeah, and I think we discussed this in some episode, but like that is the struggle that I had, or I still have, with working remote is, and given that I'm in like I have a smaller place here, and this goes for like my girlfriend too, that it's really hard to like have that separation. So right now too, like because I have my setup so accessible for work too, that sometimes I'll be working like at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. And this goes for her too, because a Teams message pops up or a new email comes in, and you are like, I'm sitting at my desk. Why not like check it out? So I think having that routine, and that's why I'll also like answer April's question. Yeah, I'm really into competitive sports because like that gets me out in the field. So I've been playing almost for 3 years until like COVID came last year. So finally we were able to go back into the league that I'm playing soccer and volleyball, but soccer got canceled after like 4 matches, which sucks.
Jeez.
But yeah, because they were like 7 versus 7, I think, whereas volleyball is less players on the field and a lot less contact because you're different side of the nets, whereas soccer is more you're in more
it's a full
contact
sport.
With the other team. And I think there was some kind of like spread too, like COVID spread. Someone tested positive and stuff like that. But no, I think having a routine and like just getting away from the screen like really helps, gets that blood flowing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also so like for me, it's so easy to get distracted here. Well, not one. I wouldn't say necessarily here, but I mean just like at my desk, because I'll have my work laptop I'm working on it, and then if I want to take a break, it's so easy to just like launch
Turn on the
FIFA
TV,
or like do
turn
something
on
on
your
my
PS5.
literally turn anything on. It's just like there. Whereas like when I was going to an office, years ago, like I didn't have that. I just had my work laptop and I didn't have anything installed on that, right? So, but that's more of like me. I wouldn't say that's necessarily like a work from home thing. It's just like a discipline thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to a hybrid strategy. I know that's not like a very popular opinion, but I'm just glad it's like available to people who do actually want to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like right now I would go for a hybrid, but where most is remote, like 2 days in the office or even less, like once per week in an office or even in a co-working space instead of an office. Actually, my wife is starting going to the Starbucks next door, where they have like pretty nice tables and such. Like that's just like a little bit of a break, if anything. And I'm thinking about doing that. I just have to figure out which places are dog friendly enough so that I can bring my dog along. But that's about the main concern, because I'm starting to think about it, and that's why I actually separated like my main setup with my like my work setup is my laptop, which is basically never in my room. Because so I know that like around 5 something I finish my text and such. I'm just gonna leave my computer in the living room, and then I can go in my room where I have my PlayStation, my actual gaming like work, like my personal computer, and do stuff there. So there is that separation as in physical, but only because I have an actual office in my house. So not everyone can actually get to do that.
Yeah, and I think especially for a hybrid approach, I think it gives the flexibility too to people who are commuting a lot. So I remember a few of our senior devs, they live like countryside, so they have to like drive an hour to get to the office. For them, they're like, yeah, we're fine working from home because we save like 2 hours a day, right? Whereas for someone who's living in like really close to the office like me, I think yeah, hybrid approach is like really good because so right now what I do is I go in 2 or 3 days a week, and then for the rest of the 2 days I just stay home and work from home. And my girlfriend does the same thing, and we have like alternate schedules. So like she would go in Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday, whereas I would go in Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that, as I said, like our space is really smaller, so she gets that isolation. But yeah, I think it really depends, and also like on the mindset too. I think like Boris really mentioned good thing that we are getting more work done when we are working from home because we're in that mindset, right? When we are in the office, you log off at 5, you commute back to home, and you're ready to relax. Kind of mindset. Whereas now, because you have been working from like 8 to 5, right, where you like kind of slept and like go get food and stuff. There's no that barrier, physical barriers. I think it's what's missing.
The Boris asked if I'm hearing voices. No, it was just started to rain really hard, so the like rain hitting like the window area, and I thought it was like footsteps or something like that. So that's why I moved this to here, and it's just like the rain. Is it raining really hard over there, Alf?
It's pretty hard too. Like I can't bring out gnocchi right now because it would take forever to dry him. So, but yeah.
You don't have a blow dryer?
Not yet. That's the thing. Like I don't have I have to get like an actual dog level blow dryer, blow dryer, because.
Yeah.
Another thing I was thinking about with all these working from home and such is that, and I realized this by yesterday, because yesterday I took a PTO day to go and travel out and such, is that I don't feel as inclined to take PTO because it wouldn't change what I would do during the day. Like it wouldn't really, because I'm sitting on in my living room on my laptop. If I were to take PTO, unless I plan a trip that is already like it's hard and it's also not safe enough. Like we went out on a daily trip and such, was okay, always out, always in open spaces and such. But it's like, again, it's like collectively dumb or people, so it's starting to get back up even with vaccinations and such. So it's not that safe. So even if I were to take PTO, I wouldn't do anything different. So at the point, I'm like, why would I take PTO? Like, why would I use the PTO if I were to do the same thing and just not add the laptop work that I would be doing? And do you guys have what's been your experience in getting like using up the PTO like recently?
Yeah, I think for me it's been pretty same every year. So I take like a 3-week, 4-week vacation, go back to India to visit my family, and that's where like all of my PTOs go, which won't be happening this year just because of the flight bans and stuff. And it was also nice of my manager to like point it out. He's like, since you'll not be going to India, like make sure you like divide it out and make sure you're taking them. But yeah, I don't feel the urge, like to your point, Alf, like I don't think I'll be doing anything different. I think I took like 3 PTOs in the last 3 months. And that also, like, we went to like a different city on a drive. And as you said, like things here too are pretty closed still. There's not a lot to do, but yeah, I love driving. So we went to like on long drives. But that's only what we did. Like there's nothing different that I would do if I didn't go on a drive, or if I would be sitting home just to relax, because I don't know, I'll be bored.
Well, I'm currently taking, no, actually I'm off from work, but I'm not taking PTO because it's a move.
Yeah.
It's a move for work. So yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, but like I've already moved, but I just still plan on taking tomorrow off and that kind of stuff. But I'm pretty good at taking time off. Like I'll try to sometimes I'll just like take a Friday. That way I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I just like do nothing really. I don't really.
Mhm.
I just like I know I can sleep in, which is nice.
Nice.
And maybe if there's any errands or really, you
Yeah.
know, I'm freaking find something to do. But yeah, I tend to use it. I don't like to really roll stuff over because I've always been. I mean, up until now, my goal at like every company that I've worked at was to be there maybe like tops 2 years.
I
Right.
see
So
what
there
you
was no
mean.
real point. I mean, oftentimes it's not a company's policy or obligation to pay you
Yeah.
vacation time. So you just lose it when you leave. Right. So it's like I'm not going to gain money out of this. So they give me these days. Why would I not take them? Right. So
For sure.
and I don't want to also be that person who takes all their PTO, like they give their 2 weeks and they just take their PTO then, and then they don't help like offboard properly.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't want to be that person either. So I always like, I just use it
Be
whenever.
proactive.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just use it whenever, and like if I'm feeling off or whatever it might be, like any freaking reason, I'm taking PTO,
Yeah.
taking a day off or something.
The only challenge, you guys are not on call, right? No.
No.
Yeah. So the only struggle I have is if I work, let's say, like I take an instance from last week. So I was on call. I worked like 3 hours after on a Monday, after like 5. And most of the times, what I do is on Friday afternoon, I would take off. So like I'll only work till 12, and then I will be off for the rest of the day because I worked those 3 hours before, right? Instead of like getting it in the paycheck. And that just like that's why I don't take PTOs, because I have that kind of leftovers
Yeah.
from working on call.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I should take more days off. That's what like my mom tells me every time. She's like, because you have this vacation time, you should take it off, and like only plan like 2 weeks or 3 weeks to come back to India. But yeah, to Boris's question, yep. We like the company policy right now is 100% remote. But yeah, I still like to go in 2 days in a week. The main purpose is VPN doesn't give me like best speeds. And sometimes I have these huge SQL reports that would time out. So I go into the office and run those, and that I have scheduled them like only for Tuesdays and Thursdays. But yeah.
I used to, so my cloud engineer gig, I would do pretty much like 3 days there, and this is pre-COVID. This is like maybe like 2018. I used to do 3 days there and then 2 days off, and typically I would be like maybe, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays in office, and then the other days, Tuesday and Thursdays at home. And I actually really enjoyed going to the office because there was free snacks, there was free what's freaking the water with it's like soda but without seltzer, yes. So like soda water, yeah, that there was ping pong, there was video games. It was great. And then I got along with my colleagues too. So like if I needed a break and a friend needed like to take a break too, like we would play ping pong. I got really good at ping pong then. But I also got like a significant amount of work done because my colleagues were like super accessible, and like my boss was always excited to see what I was working on. So if I needed help, he'd be like, yeah, let's just go into the conference room, which had like a massive screen, and we could just like work on something directly there. Like the remote work is like, it's cool and everything like that, but like figuring something out in person with like whiteboard and like key screen there with like someone there, it's like, it's a feeling that was unmatched to me. So that was cool. And then obviously now, like, I just want to like meet more people. And the cool thing about the office here in Times Square is like, it's not just people in engineering, it's like every single field, like department. So, salespeople and marketing people and all that kind of stuff. Just like, people who work at Microsoft who are based here, use that office. So that's be exciting, just like meet new people in the company, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I kind of thrive on just like that kind of energy too. So it's like, it kind of like reminds you of like, oh, like what you do work for, or I guess a sense of purpose to an extent, right? Because it's so easy to feel like you're alone and isolated, and like, yeah, you have a massive
sure.
team, but like without like physically seeing it, it's kind of like it's just easy to forget that kind of stuff. So yeah.
That brings like a lot of nostalgia. I remember, and this was still when I was in help desk role, so tech support, and I was trying to get into cloud and learn cloud. And I think it would have been so difficult because the way I like grasp stuff. Like I remember like senior solutions architect would like sit with me 1 hour and explain like the entire solution that they built in cloud, which was just amazing because you're just asking them questions right when they're trying to explain, and they would have a whiteboard and a screen. So that was really good. And also like we had ping pong, and like we got super competitive at it, and we would like, and then it grew on like the entire team. So we would do doubles and we would do tournaments. So each day you would like, you have to pick a team for a week. So let's say I pick my like colleague, let's say X, and then you have to be in that team for the entire week, and then you would face different teams, and whichever one loses, like they are out of the league, and whichever one sticks till the end would win. And then we would get like pizza or stuff on Fridays, whoever is the winner. But yeah, no, those were really like fun times. I think I really missed that physical contact, as you said, and especially like I remember as soon as I would go into the office at 8 a.m., the first thing I did, and most of my coworkers did, was get coffee in the kitchen. And we would like just stand while our coffee brews, and we would like just have a small talk about how our day was yesterday and what are we up to this day. It was not like a formal stand-up, but still it was nice to like catch up on stuff. And the most I miss is I was also part of this like social committee we had, and we would like organize events for each month, and these would be like outdoor events, so like outside, like board games or escape rooms, or we could do a volleyball match or a softball match, and then a soccer match. So things like that is what I really miss, because that just like brings you closer to who your coworkers are, right?
You bring a good point, and like the big reason why from like sysadmin and then I get promoted to cloud engineer was because after 5 o'clock I would stick around, and oftentimes I started sticking around because I noticed that my boss would stick around, and also the CEO would stick around, and some of the senior engineers. And I was like, oh, maybe I could like steal some of their time, and they'd be willing to like show me stuff, or I could just like hang out and watch them do it. I'm not saying that you should work overtime or anything like that. I'm just saying that that's what worked for me.
And it was like, fun, right? Because we did it because it was fun for us.
Yeah, and it was also like, I feel like there was something about that after hours switch, like it hit 5 o'clock, and people were a lot more like more casual about it. It was just like, we're just like talking tech or anything or stuff like that, right? So like I was able to like watch these people like, you know, work on things that I wanted to learn about, but I was also like sort of like gaining rapport with like the CEO, and then sometimes I'd play like ping pong matches against him, right? And I've sort of like got on the good side that way. So that kind of makes me think like it was so important for me to be in office when I was getting started, because that opportunity would not have happened if it was like a remote thing. And I'm curious to see what that looks like now, right? With people going into like their first jobs in a remote environment, because I've done like remote onboarding now with at a Cloud Guru and now at Microsoft, but they're not like my first steps into cloud, right? So I had been already familiar and familiar with working at a tech job and stuff like that. And you know, I know my way around the technology, and I could at this point I can pretty much learn whatever I needed to learn, right? But back then it was like, no, I just needed to like expose myself as much as I could to these people who have the knowledge that I need, and also, you know, make connections and that kind of stuff, right?
It totally would have been a different story if it was remote, especially because I was not familiar with all these online communities and stuff too. Like I would only do like the help desk stuff, and then also if I'm working on some kind of project, it would be just like on my PC. That's it. Like I won't post about it anywhere, talk to my friends about it. No, because I didn't know there will be so many people who would be interested to see that I'm trying to learn that. And I think that was the only exposure I had, is my like coworkers and the questions I had to ask them kind of build that. knowledge in me, I think it would have been totally different. But yeah, it would be nice to see like how difficult, I don't want to say difficult, but how different it would be.
Different, yeah. Different
now.
It would be now.
Yeah.
Before we dive into this other topic that I want to bring up, Boris wants to know what would be the language absolutely required to have for DevOps positions?
It's coming. Python.
YAML.
Yeah.
YAML's not really a language, but
yeah. So
I guess if you're familiar with Python and Shell, like scripting, those are the two that really would be.
And so I have a reason now, and this is like a long asked question, and I'd say people that it doesn't matter, but then I like reevaluated, and
Are you gonna make a video?
Yeah, and I'm probably gonna make a video. But Python is my answer because let's say you don't know programming at all, like me, and I picked Python because it's so easy to get started and learn.
Mm-hmm.
And also, most of the time in DevOps, if you're scripting anything that's not YAML, like CI/CD pipelines and stuff like that, if it's not YAML, most of the time, if it's like personal scripts, it'll be Python. Like that's what I have seen in most of the companies. And that's why it's also easy to grab. But I think if you don't know what to pick, pick Python, and like don't think too much about it. Just pick Python.
Just do it. Go pick Python and then don't ask again. Just kidding. But also Python's well supported by literally every cloud platform out there has an SDK and that you can work with Python. So yeah, do it. All right. So what I want to talk about this week, well, you know me, I like to rant. I rant with Rishabh all the time. It's like, this is so Tech Twitter pisses me off, I think, every single week. You all know that I'm
this week's reason.
This week's reason.
This will be a 10-minute segment every episode.
Yeah, why GPS is mad at Tech Twitter this week. So there was actually a couple of discussions this week. The college degree one came up again. I don't know if y'all saw, but that was like freaking popular again. It happens like maybe, I feel like every month. At some point, Tech Twitter will be talking about, do you need a college degree? Blah 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 blah. That. Then another one was someone talking about entry-level gigs being from like 65K to like 80K in tech. And then I was like, because also I'd made a video about salary, I think the week prior to that. And I just don't like the expectation. It's like setting the expectation that you're going to find it's guaranteed to find an entry-level job between that range, right? I don't like that expectation. I also don't like sort of setting tech in this light of like, oh, if you want to make money, come here, right? Like, yes, there is a lot of opportunity to make an insane amount of money, but it's like not a guarantee, and it's also not something like that you can
right out of the gate.
Yeah, right out of the gate. Also, like I would see a bunch of people replying to that saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm making this, but I'll be making 6 figures in like 2 years or 1 year and stuff like that." And then I quote tweeted it, and then I tweeted like, "Oh, it took me 6 years just this year to get 6 figures." Granted, I was like at 90K last year, and then prior to that 78K, so it's like not necessarily 6 figures but close. But it was, I don't know, I think we have to be so careful when we talk about money, because it's like everything runs on it, right? But it's also it's like, I don't want you to come in here and then realize like, oh, it's not as quick as people were telling me to do that, right? So those are my two issues with TikTok. I also have this issue with people tweeting, I found this amazing thing, blah 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 blah, and then they don't provide the link to that amazing thing in the original tweet. They make a thread. That way they get engagement to their own profile, and the actual resource that is the amazing thing that you're tweeting about is in the next link. Like, if you want to tweet out something, if you want to tweet out something that's amazing, if you want something amazing, then go and make that. And then that like, I'm done with these like curators and things like that. Go out and make a resource that's valuable, and then share that out. Stop using other people for your own clout.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done. I'm out of here.
But I'm gonna follow up on that, because it defies the entire purpose of. So in our case, it defies the entire purpose of why GPS built it, right?
Exactly.
We didn't do a huge marketing thing.
We didn't.
We didn't.
That's why I'm so. It's like, it pisses me off.
And the repo. I'm just gonna say the repo itself wasn't ready at all. No. It was just a README, and we were trying to curate resources. And GPS said, let's make this public because we're gonna think this through too much.
Yeah, we're gonna overthink it.
Yeah, and we did it, and we didn't tweet about it. We didn't do anything until next day when we realized like it already hit 500 or something stars, and people are loving it. And that's when we like started putting more effort into it.
Yeah.
And the purpose was never getting just like more followers or more engagement on our Twitter accounts.
Yeah. Also,
the purpose of it was to help people get into cloud.
Yeah. Or just learn. Like the other thing that I didn't like was like the expectation thing, which I hate people who use these buzzwords for
how to be.
Yeah. And I think it says, this repo teaches you how to become a cloud engineer, a cloud/DevOps engineer in 6 months. And then I messaged Rishabh right away. I'm like, I'm upset because I don't like people, especially with it being research that we created, and like anything that I attach my name onto, it has like a clear and proper purpose. I'm not trying to like make money off anybody or like try to sell you my course or my boot camp or something like that, right? So this person tweets it out like that, right? And I'm just like, that's not right. So I tweet back. That's one thing about me. At this point, I'm like, I'm gonna call you out on things. So I tell this person like, look, I appreciate you sharing this, but I don't like the fact that you said how to become a cloud/DevOps. First of all, those things are different, but engineer in 6 months. If you go into the repo and you click the top, which I don't even know if this person did, that you click the top, the title literally says there, learn the fundamentals of cloud in 6 months, right? It says it there, right? So it's like, you didn't even do your research. You just knew that this was going to give you a huge engagement. And it did. Like this person gained like a lot of followers.
Oh yeah.
All that kind of stuff. And it like, I don't necessarily care about that. I'm just like, if you're going to do that by like building things to actually provide value and not just like
exactly
like
because you have
using other people.
Such a huge audience now. And the fundamentals thing is like the key point. We mentioned that in the repo's name itself, and also like the first thing, the heading itself says learn cloud computing fundamentals. It's not going to make you a cloud engineer. It might, but that's totally up to you.
It's with any size platform, you have a responsibility and to be true to who you are. If who you are is truly to be a fraud or to just gain numbers for whatever reason, then I guess you're being true to yourself. But like, don't you ever dare try to use stuff that I've built or like Rishabh or like Alpha's built for your own favor, because you're gonna get called out on that, right? This person later on corrected themselves and they DM'd me and they're like, hey, sorry about it. I'm like, oh, cool, but I'm hoping like moving forward they'll like second guess at least. I hope so. But if not, it's like, I don't know. Tech Twitter, man. Tech Twitter. And I feel like Twitter's like the worst of them. I think LinkedIn is more like certifications, like, oh, look, I passed this Udemy course or something like that, right? Yeah. It's not as I don't think it's as bad as it.
Yeah, LinkedIn is just like a void shell. And that's about it. There's no substance to anything that is on Twitter, on LinkedIn. At least Twitter, like there is like you can wade to the trash, and sometimes you find some good stuff. But LinkedIn is just devoid of any meaning, basically. That's my take on LinkedIn. Like after learning how to use LinkedIn to network and such in a business school, I just like can't help but like see everything that is on LinkedIn as just like everyone tooting their own horn for no reason other than anything, and like all these posts about I interviewed this person, she arrived late and she was in distress and she was worried, and I said don't worry, I hired her on the spot because like all of that kind of bullshit. I'm like, oh no, I can't. And then you get like 17,000 likes and people just saying great post. Like
the guy who like cut his salary to increase everybody's salary. I see that post every week.
Why? That's my like. Why do I see it on my feed every week?
Yes.
I think he posted it once. I don't know if he posted it like multiple times, but from the look of the post, like it's the exact same every week.
Yeah.
It comes up in my feed every week.
I don't know, like LinkedIn, figure your stuff out. Someone asked, oh yeah, you responded to get into DevOps kind of thing.
Yeah, I provided the roadmap that I built last year. or 7 months ago.
Oh, cool.
And this is specifically just DevOps, but yeah, feel free. I'm also going to link the repo itself. That'll like give you a good idea of like what cloud is, and also some basics that might be helpful in like getting into DevOps. And then it also goes into the DevOps in like phase 4. So like do the 6-month thing with cloud repo, and then you can focus on like pick your niche in DevOps, because it's really broad. So like, as I say, I'm a DevOps engineer, but I don't deal with Kubernetes at all. So it might be totally different based on like company you're looking at, positions you're looking at, and what interests you. Like containers, that right now they don't interest me, so I'm not learning those, but definitely in the future. But yeah,
DevOps is so vast as well. Like you can like specialize in like one area of DevOps as well. So like keep that in mind too. Do we want to talk about certs? I feel like that's like we talk about that all the time.
Yeah, I'm just gonna answer this specific one because I think I have gone down that rabbit hole of getting all of them.
King of certs.
Don't do that.
Just kidding.
No, it's all good. I don't want some tech Twitter person ranting at me calling myself king of certs. But yeah, I don't think it doesn't bring that much value to the table. Like if you want to do it just as taking it as a personal challenge, that's why I did it, like just to build a routine around like studying and stuff. Sure, go ahead and do it. And to be brutally honest, they were either paid by my company, or they were either paid by Microsoft themselves with those voucher and cloud skills and Ignite challenges. Same for the resources themselves. Yeah, not picking on you, I swear. No, but yeah, yeah, I think getting 1 or 2 to just get into the field.
It's this is a sweet spot. Yeah, 1 or 2.
Yeah, 1 or 2, and pick it. Like do your research and pick it, because let's say you want to go into DevOps. Pick the associate DevOps one if you're in AWS, or pick the AZ204 and then AZ400 in Azure world. I don't know GCP one, sorry, but same thing. Like in AWS, pick the certified developer associate and then do the DevOps professional, and those 2 should be enough. But yeah, other than that, don't go for all, because for me, like it took me 9 months just of studying, and then 4 months additional to just pass all these certs. So like almost a year of my valuable time went into this, whereas only 3 certs made the huge impact on my career. Other than that, rest of it is, I don't think it as a waste of time, but still like it's a significant amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
One thing to consider also is that like when going from no certs to 1 cert is has so much more impact than going from 1 to 2 certs to 4 or 5. Like the returns diminish immediately, and like it literally takes no time after the first certification for any additional certification to be of no actual usage. And there again, I think we discussed this a bunch of times, but like most cloud providers use the certification for their partner programs, so that like if a company is a consulting company in the cloud space, so for AWS or Azure, you need to have a certain amount of people that work at the company that need to be certified to meet a certain like certification standard, and like being a part of a partner program. But otherwise it doesn't really, it's not like it can be like a definition of like validating your skills, but it doesn't necessarily validate your skill to an employer. It's like as mentioned a lot of times, I always consider them as personal validation more than employer validation. There are some certification I didn't even put on my resume anymore because it just like doesn't add anything to my personal to my person.
Definitely.
So you can share on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, I can definitely.
There's the FOMO part too, right here, which we have an entire podcast on, but like I felt this way last year because there were so many people due to I think it was due to COVID, but so many people doing certifications, and I would see like people taking 3, 4, even 12, all 13 of AWS certs in like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks kind of thing. And that was like, I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it too. But I felt like I was missing out because I need to get certified. So yeah, the form, stay away from the form.
How many total AWS certifications are there? I want to make
13, 12. Or yeah, if you don't count the Alexa one.
And what's the average price of them? Like 150, 200?
It's actually higher.
Average would be 175. Yeah, most of them are 300.
Most of them are 300. So
the specialty,
there are only 3 that are 150, 1 that is 75, 100. And the other are 300 or 350.
It's 100 for cloud practitioner.
Yeah, under 75. I don't know.
All right, let's say 175 average by 12. That's $2,100 in.
You gotta count the resources too, right?
Well, not counting resources, just you're paying out certifications. That is like a semester at community college or something like that. You know,
that's a pre-built.
That is a freaking 3090.
You can buy the computer that you use to learn the stuff just to get certified on the stuff that you could learn on a computer.
You could run a small SaaS on freaking AWS with that, like a serverless SaaS a year with that.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's and also like again, there is a better use of your money, like because your money is. Like I mean, I'm not trashing on certification. I'm trashing on certification for the sake of improving your career, like your resume, like as a resume stuffer. But your certification, if it's used for a purpose, like you are a person working in a specific field, you are like a security specialist, and you want to take the AWS security specialty. That's totally fine and very, very smart.
Definitely.
It's hard as hell as a certification. That one and the networking one are 2 of the hardest one.
Yeah.
Go for it. Like it's totally within the reason to want it to be certified in a very specialized field. But if it's just, I never had a position in dev, like I never had a development position and I have 12 certification in AWS, like maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's also a good thing if you're trying to step into something. So let's take Antonio's example, where if you're trying to get into like cloud security kind of thing, and you're already in, like, you're a cloud engineer, maybe you want to like focus on cloud security and get a role in that position. I think, yeah, you can go ahead and do like just one that is the AWS. I don't know what specialty one, and then similarly in Azure it has its own, and that should be enough to just get your foot into it. And then there are definitely ample of other certificates that would pop up if you type in security and just like Google it. But yeah, don't waste a lot of your time just on certs. And also I don't find it, like, even after doing all these, I got the AI 900. And I don't know anything about it's like really AI one, and I don't see myself just working in AI ever, and I don't understand most of the concept. Like they're gone now because I took it last year. So yeah, I don't think like certs, they're good to get your foot into something, but they're not like a solid foundation. They won't build a solid foundation depending what kind of like study path you took.
They also don't make as much of an impact on your resume as they used to. That's just the reality. It's like back when I got my first one, it was like pretty new, like cloud certs, and like you had one in your resume and you would stick out, definitely. For sure. Now it's like there's accessible, and like there's so much content around them, and there's this whole market around them, right? You know, people make money off certifications, that be courses or vouchers or whatever it might be. It's just not as, it just doesn't hit as hard on a resume. That doesn't mean you shouldn't take them. I think you should. Now it's like, instead of rushing to take, like, I don't know, all 12 in 6 weeks, why don't you take one in 6 weeks? But like really take your time to go through with it. Like really go piece by piece and like build things for each like because they're outlined well. That's what I love about certs, like the learning paths and how they're outlined. It's great. It's like really chewed apart for you, so you can really take individual like, all right, today I want to learn how the specific thing on Active Directory, something like that. Do that. Take your time. Take more time than just to memorize things and actually build stuff around it. Yeah,
do it for this, like for sake to pass it.
No, I took 6 months for my first certification. I learned a lot on that, and I'm glad I did. Like,
for sure,
I'm here because of that.
Yeah, I took around 4 months for just a cloud practitioner, and people bashed at me, but I'm fine because, like, I didn't know what cloud was, and that's just like that was the foundation of the entire concepts that now are in my head.
One thing about it is also that like having many certification can potentially there is to a degree it could hurt you, because if you are like taking a certification in some shady way, as in like you use like dumps or you just like do all the cramming for preparation of exam, and as soon as you're getting out of the exam everything is flushed down the toilet. Then when you actually have it on your resume and someone actually picks it up and say, oh, it has a certification, then you go to an interview and they ask you something and you don't know how to answer on things that supposedly are part of a certification, that not only looks bad, like not only you possibly fail the interview, but in general it looks also bad because it creates that type of image of you as not being like truthful on what you're saying on your resume, because putting a certification on your resume assumes that you have the knowledge that comes with the red certification if you want to really put them for that point of view. So I don't know if it's very useful, really.
Yeah. Boris says, don't be a paper specialist, study certs to actually know what you're doing. Yeah, take your time. Like, and these things are expensive. Like, take your time with them. Roy says, as long as certs are, let's say, AWS certified through the AWS dashboard, those are the kind of certs that stand out.
These are the ones that we're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about
the ones that are offered by the cloud provider. They don't stand up. They don't stand out anymore as much. And there are some that do stand out because of like how gruesome they are. Like, for example, the networking specialty.
The specialty ones.
The AWS Solution Architect Pro. Or like the certified Kubernetes one. Like those are renowned to be extremely, extremely hard. So actually getting those might be a little bit stand out because they are so hard that not a lot of people do have them. So it's a little bit like it's not exactly the same, but it's like the CFA if you're in finance. It's like 3 exams over 3 years, and they're like 4 or 5 hours and 50% pass rate. And but then when you have it, then you actually get like a job. But that's more of a professionalizing certification, which there are some like the CompTIA and
Cloud.
Network Plus.
Network Plus, yeah.
Like those ones, there are some companies that require you for being a network engineer to actually have those, because those are more professionalizing. While compared to others that are more like just a very like validation of skills. And like I think they're not professionalizing.
With most associates, that's the case. It's more validating if you know services and solutions that a particular cloud provider provides. Whereas when you go to like not only like with AWS, I also found this with Azure. Like I was studying for AZ400, I think. And you need to know stuff. Like you need to know how to implement solution to get your app delivered. This was the DevOps specific one. You can't just like study, or you can't just take a course and pass it. You need to know like it inside out, like how apps perform, how web apps work, how they are delivered, and all those other industry norms that we have for DevOps and best practices kind of stuff. And that's the case with like AWS Pro certs too.
It's also like, so I wish the cloud ones, and I don't know if like this is where they're headed to, but like would take the approach that the Linux Foundation certifications, like the Red Hat certifications, where it's lab based, where in order to pass you have to do like actual inside of the server, like exercises there, and you have to perform tasks in there. Those would make it way more not that they're not useful now, but like you can't do like exam dumps.
Fake your way through it.
Like you have to know what you're doing, right? And I think like that would be like fantastic. But there's a way for you to do that sort of now. It's like, you know, take the certification, take the outline, and each thing it tells you to know how to actually do. Look up how to do it. Look up a tutorial. Look up a documentation. Look up how you do, and then use those things to build projects for your resume. And then you can, of course, put the certification on your resume, but you also have these projects, and that's what's going to help you stick out. It's not just a certification on its own. Yeah. Also, like someone on my YouTube commented, because when I first failed the Linux certification that I took earlier this year, I remember saying at the end of that video, I said something like, I only really consider myself a failure if I ever use things like exam dumps, right? And I wasn't being like, you know, making the most out of like the opportunity to take a certification. And then this person said like, why I don't really see what's the issue with using exam dumps. And I said, well, they kind of just reinforce this, like you memorize and then you answer, and that's kind of it. There's no like real authentic learning there. And then this person like continue to argue like, no, I don't think that's the truth. Like, I think it's on like the own person to sort of, if they memorize or not, and that kind of thing. And then I mean, the fact that exam dumps exist, maybe it's the issue is the actual exam and stuff like that. I'm like, that's fine. You can think that, that's true. But the reality is like exam dumps, the nature of exam dumps is like question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. There's some of them may have explanations or stuff like that, but it's like, it's just question, answer, memorize. Like that's, you can't, that's like the mechanism. Like you can't argue that.
That's it's the same point that you say, like sitting the SAT or any of the standardized tests. There's no like any. It's just a bulk memorization for a lot of like things, and it doesn't test your. You're not getting tested on your actual knowledge of the underlying concept, but you're just tested on getting good at like how to cancel questions or how to remove answers or how to narrow down the possibilities and such. That is a test on how good you are at taking tests. It's not a test on like making sure that you have knowledge. The problem with this type of exams is that the way that they are written, it lends itself very well to a style of that, but the questions are actually not as direct as you have to answer question, and a lot of the time it's more about scenario-based questions. And so those ones, they test you on like if you know how services interact with each other. But if you already solved the question, then it just again goes back to taking a test. So the exam dumps are just reducing the value of the certification for everyone, because again, if you go on an interview and you answer, they ask you a question, if you study with exam dumps, you don't know the answer.
Yeah, you're not gonna know.
There's no way that you know the answer.
No. But yeah,
that's every month in tech Twitter. There's salary, there's certification, cloud wars,
education,
and then the next one that I wanted to bring up, which was something spoken about a lot, was do you need a college degree to get into tech? And then I feel like that's probably the most heated and the most popular topic in tech, I think. And on tech Twitter.
Not only on, like, I have seen some Reddit posts too. So yeah.
I've never looked at the subreddits or anything like that, because if tech Twitter is terrible, I can't imagine. Imagine what
people
Reddit
are more transparent on Reddit.
Yeah, because it's like anonymous in a way, right? There's no profile. I mean, there is, but it's not as important as like profile on Twitter, right? So yeah, that conversation is, for context, Al has a degree. Rishabh has an associate,
a diploma,
two-year diploma.
2-year diploma thing, yeah.
So basically, like an equivalent on associate in
America.
Okay.
Associate, and then I don't have anything. So we have sort of like a nice mix here of 3 sort of levels of education. Wait, Alf, do you have a master's?
I have a master's degree in finance.
Okay, he has a master's. So we have sort of a nice little mix here of educational background. We're, in terms of cloud computing, I think we're all self-taught though. We're all we've learned through
software. Like for me, it's entirely in software. Like I did.
Yeah, because you majored in
to code entirely.
Okay, so yeah, there we go. So degrees, we've stated them, and then in terms of our work in tech, it's all been self-taught through either like Udemy courses or documentation or YouTube videos, stuff like that, right? That pretty much that's like our education. And I think that's the reality for most people who are come into the field. It's like maybe the degree helps you land a job, but once you get into the job, all the learning is done. Like we're all self-taught once we're in there, right? That kind of thing, right? So do you need to get into the field? What do you guys think?
There's this question here.
Does having a bachelor's in computer science with cloud certs make it easy to get into the field?
We had this conversation again in another episode of the podcast about how if you actually had the opportunity and the means and like the financial like stability of like going, especially if like this is a very North American like approach because college is extremely expensive. So it's easier in Europe to do that because it's like very non-expensive, and it's easier in other parts of the world because it's not expensive. But if you have the financial means and if you are like out of high school and such, and you can go to college without putting yourself in like a lifetime of debt, then it's worth, like, it makes it easier because schools have programs to work with companies, like they have career fairs, they have like internship programs. There's so much
networking
that a school can give you that is not about what you learn in class. What you learn in class is maybe 30% of a college degree. Everything else is like the opportunities that are around college degree, meaning meeting people, interacting with companies, networking, facilities, discounts on like things like I don't know, hackathons, like all, for example, GitHub education package. You have GitHub Pro and a crap load of like free educational content online. That's useful, but it's not the only thing that is gonna make you get in the field. You have to be actually a pretty solid person yourself. Like you have to actually put yourself through the learning process, and that learning process technically you can do it on your own. So if you have the possibility, yes. If you have the opportunity, yes. It's not the only thing that is gonna give you a degree. An entry to the field.
I think those are some really, really good points. And again, like it gives you like a lot of experiences in those 3-4 years, and also the exposure, the resources that you get at a university, and the kind of structure you get is totally different when you're on your own trying to figure out stuff. So for that part, if you totally like, money is not an issue, and if it's affordable, sure, go for it. But I don't know. I'm on the other side of the fence where I say it's not important still, and that's because I'm biased because I was able to get into the field without a degree. I think that's why I'm saying that, because I don't want to waste 30 grand, 20 grand, or I don't want to have someone waste 30, 20 grand on a college degree when there is enough resources available to get into the field itself, and people have done it. So there's like not a requirement.
I guess the counter argument people will say is, and then I think this is something that we tend to forget living in the US and I guess North America in general, is the importance that the degree and the credential and the title actually hold in countries that are outside of North America. And then and like we've all lived outside of these countries, right? So like living in Ecuador, I saw like you can't bag groceries there if you don't have a degree. That's just it, which was one of the biggest reasons why I decided to move back to the States. And I actually have, since I was born in the US, I had the privilege to be like come back whenever I wanted to, right? But I knew that if I didn't like put myself through like a 4-year, 5-year program, I wasn't going to be able to land. No one would look at me, no matter what, no matter how good I was at what I was doing, no matter how smart it was. If I didn't have a degree, no one was going to hire me. Like, and I'm not lying. This is for every single job out there. And like anything you want to do, you would have to have a degree. That's just the reality,
it's
right?
Pretty same, I think. And I don't want to bring that word up, but I think it's same in all like third world, second world kind of nations.
Developing nations.
Yeah, developing nations. It's similar in India. Like you, even to get a like basic job at, I don't know, maybe a cashier, maybe I don't know. I can't think of jobs. But yeah, even to get simple job, you need to have a degree. It could be anything, but you need to have a college credential or a university credential to be eligible to even apply to that job, and then you get selected. But yeah, I think it's different here in the States. And to be totally honest, I was doing a computer science degree back in India, and I was already like a year in when I dropped out and moved here to Canada. So I don't know.
And then we could loop that argument into like, well, people who want to sort of immigrate here, like in order for visa, it helps them to have degrees and stuff like that, just because they sort of try to build their case as to why they want to move here. And then so people will say like, well, if there's no college degree requirement, people who want to get visas and work over here, like they're at a disadvantage. And in my opinion, it's like, well, I don't see why we can't coexist. Why can't the field just be friendly to whoever is willing to educate themselves, however the best model is for them? Like if a traditional school and that kind of way of learning works for you, that should be welcomed, right? Yeah. And if you're more of a self-taught kind of person, that should also be welcomed, right? You shouldn't be sort of categorized or think you thought less of because of like what your credentials aren't, right? Yeah. It is definitely harder. I will say, if you don't have a degree, it is definitely harder, right? People will just look at you like you're just not qualified, right? I think that is sort of slowly changing and going towards a more accepting way, but it's just like the reality of things that like it's harder, right? But I think we should find like a way of like coexisting. Like it doesn't the question shouldn't be like, do you need one or not? It should be like, oh, you can go either way, like it'll work either way for you. I think that should be it. Also, like school is just so, here in the US, it's just so expensive. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous that these people will end up with maybe sometimes 6 figures in debt before they even start working. And then the first 10 years of their career, they're worried about paying back their debt, and just then their actual like financial independence starts. I think that's ridiculous, right?
For sure.
And it's also cool that we live in countries where with the opportunity to build networks, like we all met online, right? I met the person who referred me to my job now at Microsoft. I met that person through Twitter, right? Like we live in an environment that allows us. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say that's, I mean, obviously like social media is pretty much you able to use it everywhere in the world with some limitations, of course. So it's like pretty accessible to everyone, but we live in this world where it's like, I can make friends and I can make colleagues and I can build a professional network and stuff like that online. That's also like a huge resource to use. I know Gustavo mentions like building a strong network. That's also a talent and a skill set that you need to be able to sort of nurture, because
for sure,
it's so easy to sort of sniff out the person who is trying to just network with you because they need to get something out of you, and then the person who's actually trying to just provide like actual value in the rapport that you're establishing, right? So I'd be careful with that term of like networking and such. It's more like just build honest relationships kind of thing.
And I think I think Al's point sums it up, that if you have the means and if you're willing to, like, you want a structured, you want the resources, you want all of that comes with a university, the network itself, or not networking, but having that experience, having that opportunities, I think definitely go for it. We're not in any means saying that don't get a degree. We are not saying that. And to be honest, I have been looking at some online schools, and I tweeted I think last year that I got into one, but I didn't start it. Like I kind of started doing one subject and then kind of left it off, but I'm still like admitted to that school, so I can start again anytime. But again,
and something that Jeremy mentioned is like something I mentioned on Twitter the other day, that most JavaScript and .NET devs are fully self-taught, and that most university colleges don't have any courses or in C++ and Java. That's very true.
Very true.
Like,
that's also true for cloud.
Like most of the out of college jobs usually, unless you have a lot of like personal projects that you taught yourself, like things like JavaScript, .NET, and a lot of like frameworks and such. Most college courses are Java based and or C++ a little bit less, but mostly Java based. And a lot of people get out of college and do enterprise programming, which is a field that is it's meh. Like I don't have a personal experience, but I have a lot of friends that are graduated from CS degrees, and they got into these larger jobs that like Oracle or like banking and such, doing corporate programming and like enterprise programming, and it's a very dull experience because it's like these very old code bases that don't really like they're not like major innovations, but there's mostly like maintaining, and it's a very dull and very low stake kind of job that a lot of people don't enjoy that much. Versus like the web development is more akin to the like the bootcamp figure, but
Yeah.
it lacks depth, but it gains in practical stuff that then you can gain depth when like depth of knowledge when you're actually on the position.
Yeah. And I think that you brought up a good point that boot camps like have, and that was the focus. And I think that's why they put like web development, because like traditional universities and colleges were missing it, and that's why they're huge now, the boot camps themselves. And I was having this really good discussion with one of my, like, I don't want to say ex professors, but professors, when I think last year, that until this point, like today too, we don't have cloud computing as a subject, in especially here where like in my region, both in university and in college right now. So my course or my diploma, 2-year diploma, was computer networking and technical support. So a lot of hardware focused, and then also a lot of like Cisco networking kind of focused, and we didn't have anything related to cloud. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there to like make sure our curriculums are like updated. But since like I think because they have been running these institutes for, I don't know, past 100 of years, it's harder to bring that change into like traditional education. That's my point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's true because a lot of companies, like a lot of the people that I know that are taking like some courses are like, for example, I know a lot of people from UC Berkeley. And UC Berkeley like spins out like probably among the best like computer science degrees out, like graduates out, because it's like an unforgiving like degree and such. But a lot of the courses that are like the more modern ones are always either very very new courses, or they are very very like they're special topics courses. So there is like a drive to have smaller sections, but the larger sections are always like Java and like the big concepts
For
that
sure.
like if you're starting, I don't know how much you really need, and you will need if you're starting like getting into more architectural roles or like more engineering management roles. Definitely at that point you start have need to start have like some degree of knowledge about the more complicated concepts. Also, I
Yeah.
think Gwen dropped out because like she was having camera issues, so I'm sure that she's gonna come back. Oh yeah, indeed, the camera died.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beauty of
Same.
life.
The reality. Um, yeah. Yeah, I think we kind of covered up all the questions that were addressed towards traditional education, or like going through a degree, and would it make it easy?
I guess there is this question about the cloud job market becoming oversaturated. I think it's just starting really.
Yeah.
I think that there is no cloud saturation. Like if anything, companies are starting to enter the cloud space
Oh, for
more,
sure.
and now it's under oversaturated, as in not enough companies are posting jobs that are very specific to cloud. So it's if anything, is gaining steam. So if you actually bet on cloud, it's a very, I think it's a very safe like there's a bunch of people that will try to tell you that it's not, but it's mainly because they want to sell you something that is like oh, you can do cloud stuff, but in your own servers, on your own stuff. But otherwise, no. Like public cloud acquisition, public cloud will be a bigger part of the market in the development space, so
For
much
sure.
more in the future.
Yeah, and it's like people think it's already really famous. Like it's a buzzword, but I still to this date work with a lot of customers and clients that are on the traditional kind of architecture when it comes to their software, and just on doing some like regular talks with them, it looks like they're interested to get into cloud, but just they're not ready for that workload right now, right? So definitely there is a lot, like there will be more opportunities in the future, I think.
And what the heck is happening? There is a tornado warning in New York. Nice. Okay. And one last thing I wanted to mention is actually that with regards of like new jobs and new opportunities and new cloud, like we mentioned a lot of times that like the way to select like a cloud, which cloud you choose doesn't matter. It's more about where is your desired market and a specific field. Because if you are in, I don't know, an area where Azure is the main one, there is no reason for you to choose AWS. Like just choose the one that has the better like adoption in your area. If you plan on staying in that area, or if you plan to move somewhere, look at what is the do your research. But there is no better cloud really. Like each cloud has their own perks and beautifulness, but there is no necessities to have one over the other. Like the only necessity is driven by your career. This is career. Like again, you can be all passionate as you want, but this is like a career. Like you're doing this for work stuff, for career purposes. You really need to choose your career based, like you're making your own decision based on the best outcome for your career.
For sure. And yeah, Boris brings a good point that he still manages an IT department which is 98% on-prem. To be honest, we have an entire team that's called cloud operations, but we manage our own data center. So you're still in the cloud. For clients, we can say you're still in the cloud, but we have like 2 data centers. So yeah, by cloud, it not only means just public clouds. Like there are several companies that have their own private cloud, which would be meaning that they run their own data centers in different regions. So all those basic concepts, but they're trying to run their own. And this could be for any compliance reasons. But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential in just like getting into cloud. And this will be for the next, I think, 10 years.
And again, the cloud, we mentioned even this in another episode, a lot of the cloud concepts apply also to on-prem stuff, because the logic, like what cloud has done, if anything, is making accessible concepts that were more like based from like from system engineers, or like more arcane things. So all about like load balancing, all those things that are like more concepts that used to be a little bit more cloudy.
Yeah. Knock on.
Now they are public and they are more democratized, because the cloud platform provide you access to them more easily. Like setting up your RabbitMQ could have been a little bit more complicated. Now you have like AWS SQS. You can do it very simply. You can have a messaging queue up in no time, because there is the cloud provider that provides that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Gwen mentioned this last episode, that if a company uses, like if they're using Azure AD, they can call themselves that they're like
using cloud computing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
definitely.
That's the world we live in right now.
I didn't drop off. I did, but something's wrong with my capture card. And it's the expensive one, of course. It's not the cheap one. It's the what's the Elgato one?
Camlink.
Yeah, the Camlink one. Oh my gosh, I swear the $15 one that I got from Amazon, that
Mine
one,
is still running.
it works flawlessly. And then when I have this one, it just cuts in and out often. So, but that's it. But we've been going for quite a while. Let's answer like the last couple of questions we got, because I think we got some good ones. And then we'll probably sign off.
Do you think Docker will be revived by serverless? It's not exactly one-on-one comparison. I think you answered your question
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
last part,
Then-
because the thing is that they serve two separate purposes. And there is a place for serverless. A lot of the time, serverless have like shorter lifespan for the specific runtime. So, for example, Lambda, your run time has to be like 15 minutes or less. So, for a long-running process that you just have in the back or something, you can't really use Lambda, or you can to a degree, but like
Is it really 15
more...
minutes?
Yeah, 15 minutes of like timeout.
Wow, I think Azure Functions is 10.
Yeah, and so the Docker, like containers in general, serve a different purposes, and there is definitely not they serve different use cases. So if you wanna do containerization, like you can have serverless containers. Which is, but again, serverless, when you think about serverless, it's just a non-managed servers, but they're still there. So when you have a serverless containers, you're just avoiding the hassle in managing the containers, but you still have the containers that are running on a certain server and doing stuff. So I don't think they're gonna cancel each other out.
Yeah.
It's
They
just
work
that
together.
They work together.
And that's
pretty
why
well.
there are services like AKS and EKS.
Which are serverless Kubernetes.
Yeah.
You know?
So otherwise, like the cloud provider themselves could have said use serverless.
Serverless is just you don't manage it. That's it. That's literally it. Like any server, like freaking Google Docs is serverless. like all that. There, just serverless just means you don't have to manage the thing, right? It's then.
Serverless provides the infrastructure without you having to handle it.
Exactly.
The container provide a runtime without you have provide you the place to run your code without having to handle the bare metal or a virtual machine. So
Yeah,
you don't
no
have to set up
provisioning.
IIS or Nginx and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I think we covered them all. Oh, someone mentioned WGU that has a degree in cloud computing. That is actually very true. I was looking into that earlier this year, because at some point I'll probably finish my degree. As some people think I'm like anti-degree because I don't have one, but no, I'm like keen to take on the challenge, actually finish my. But I think because I was doing mine in comp sci, but I think I'll switch to the cloud one because honestly, it's like probably the easiest one to get done.
And I think like they have a really good credit system too. Like if you have a job, certifications account for that.
They count. That is so good. Can you imagine? That is so like, and that's how it should be, right?
For sure.
And they also think that they count it so that like you have a time to complete a course, but if you know already something, you can sit the final early, and
the
then
exam
just
directly.
Count as the exam.
Which
so
is
if
awesome,
you actually
right?
go faster on your own pace, you don't have to sit through the pace of a 6 month, like a 4-month, 5-month course, like a quarter or semester course. So it's a wonderful style of learning and teaching. So definitely worth looking into it. I was looking at it too.
In the end, it's like just validating what you have gained over the years, right? So if you have it through experience, should be that way. But unfortunately, people from Canada cannot take it. So
even Bill Gates says WGU is the best kept secret. Oh, Boris is doing it now. Awesome. Maybe
nice.
I don't know. I might probably not this year. So it's just like a lot going on this year. Maybe next year. I'll take a look. Richard, do you want to answer this last question that's specifically directed to you, and then we could wrap it up?
Hi, Rishabh. Currently, I'm working as tech support 2.5 years and past. This month, how can I switch my job? Do I need to learn AWS or Google? Bringing back Antonia's point, I would say, especially when picking up a cloud provider, make sure you do your market research wherever you're looking for jobs. See which one has a better adoption. see the job postings themselves, which cloud provider they mention in those, and then pick your cloud provider. And it looks like you already passed AZ900. And if like Azure has a really good adoption in your region, yeah, stick to that. You don't have to go multi-cloud, another buzzword. The knowledge is transferable. I started in AWS. I am doing Azure, and in the near future, I'll be doing Google Cloud too. Like by doing, I mean, have to support it through my company. So yeah, the knowledge itself will be transferable, but 2.5 years in tech support, I think it gives you a good solid foundation, not only like tech skills, but also like professional or soft skills. So yeah, I think the only thing you have to do is get a good project under your belt and like make sure you have like good documentation, good reasoning behind why you picked the project, why you are picking each and individual services for as a solution to your project, and then make sure it's like well documented, and you can put that on your resume along with the two certs that you're going for. And a completely thing like AZ900 and AZ104 are like totally fine to get a job. But yeah, those are my
Take a look at the
recommendations.
self-taught guide.
Oh yeah,
There's plenty of info there too.
it's already linked in the chat. I'll post it again because since I already have it copied. But
We need a domain for that. We need something easier than the GitHub.
yeah,
one.
I'll book or not book. I'll register one with the free gnome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we can host it.
Okay, cool. All right, let's wrap it up. Everyone needs to go. I need to go get food somehow. I don't have any food here. I need probably DoorDash, to be honest. It's raining really.
Thanks, Boris. Yeah, I need to get some food too.
It's
Super
raining
hungry.
really hard here. All right, guys. That's
All
it.
right. Well, thank you so much, and also for people that will listen to this on platforms and such. As always, we really appreciate the time you spend with us in with this podcast. And now that there is this more live version, feel free to meet us here, and actually drop questions in the chat and such. Probably this is gonna be on Tuesdays. And so we're trying to stick, hopefully, to a good schedule on every Tuesday around the same time. But we're gonna let you know in early in advance. Now this week was crazy between movings and such. But
Still
in
made
the
it.
meantime, we still made it.
it.
Thank you so much for everyone that hang with us in the chat. And as always, peace. Bye.